What's up, everybody? Welcome in Southeastern 16 bets and ball games. Recording on Wednesday at around 3 Eastern. We are presented by FanDuel. And let's talk about some of our friends before we get going. Game Time Sidekicks, officially licensed stainless steel drinkware, all SEC schools, plus over 350 more universities, everything from stainless steel sippy cups, tumblers, and 40 plus ounce bottles and shaker cups. SE16 for the 20% discount to viewers. Also, our friends at Hall of Fame or HOF app. Smart bettors rely on data. HOF hands you powerful analytics at your fingertips to tilt the odds in your favor, improve your chances of winning using historical data, matchup grades, trends, and player performance insights. HOF was created by Ivy League sports geeks to let everyday fans bet smarter for limited time only. Our listeners not only get a 7-day free trial, but they also get 50% off their first month when they use code SE16 at checkout. Just download the HOF app on iOS or Android, enter code SEC16, and you're all set. All right, Jay, little vacay this week, huh?
That's right. We are on the Golden Isle, St. Simon Islands, Georgia.
You know what I
Spending
call
fall
that?
break with the kids.
I call that Puppy Island.
You gotta be careful. You're gonna get a lot of woofing wearing a different colored shirt around these joints.
So, with obviously the Florida Georgia game played in Jacksonville, and
Well, you
anytime
know
I
the famous quote, right?
what
Among his 8 bazillion beloved quotes in Georgia football lore, when Lindsey Scott in 1980
run,
went the
Lindsey, run.
distance. Yep. Run, Lindsey, run was the play call. And when the game was over, Larry Munson famously said, there's going to be some property destroyed on Jekyll Island tonight.
Right. Okay. Well, maybe it was Jekyll. Is Jekyll further south, closer to Jacksonville?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, maybe that was the one I called Puppy Island. Anyhow, all right. Good, bad, and ugly. You want to go first?
I will be happy to. I'm going to go to the answers by the SEC teams from the Lone Star State. Texas A&M let Florida start fast, and then they put them in a chokehold reserve, normally for bigger brothers against little brothers who cross that line that everybody knows all too well. And then I don't think Steve Sarkisian had to say much in the locker room after a week of hearing how great Oklahoma was to get the Longhorns ready to play for Red River, because they looked fast.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So my good is the Bama win, but more specifically, the every week improvement of Ty Simpson, and certainly his plays on fourth down the last several weeks. I mean, the 4th and 8 throw, I know we talked about it on the reaction show Saturday afternoon. That 4th and 8 throw was money. The 4th and 7 late in the first half against Vandy was big time. I mean, he is playing good ball right now. 3 touchdowns, no picks last week. Now 16-1 TD INT ratio. And he is now the second shortest odds to win the Heisman, plus 320 at FanDuel. We'll go over those odds and more in a bit. But yeah, Ty Simpson, Bama's got their quarterback of the present and future. And I think they're going to put an ass whipping on Tennessee, but we'll talk more about that later as well.
I don't know how much of a future that could be, brother. The Mel Kiper's big board has him 16th out of in the country.
Yeah, he's third-year sophomore, right? So he can go pro.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm sorry, where did you say you had him?
16th
overall and third quarterback?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You're bad?
So my bad, both in degree of grading and as a form of apology to everybody who looks to bets and ball games as financial advice. My bad. on almost every pick I offered in this space last week. I was on Ole Miss, sprinting away from Washington State early. That was a hard L. And I was on Tennessee, Arkansas over in the first half and Tennessee's total. And those were painful L's.
Oh, I didn't realize the first half didn't go over.
It closed at 34.5 in a 17-17 first half.
Oh. And Taylon Green fumbled in the red zone that was in the first half, wasn't it?
Yep.
Oh,
and then Tennessee gets it back 90 seconds, which is a prime Heupel spot in a place that Arkansas has caved in every scenario, and they go 3 and out. Yeah. So, again, it was bad and my bad.
Yeah. Well, I can assume some blame there as well, unfortunately, for our listeners, because
the only SEC game I hit was on Gunnar Stockton's generous fourth quarter covering touchdown.
Oh, wow. Yeah. We'll talk more about that one in a little bit. My bad's going to be Billy Napier's just ineptitude to manage a game and his offensive play calling. Like, I think, I know you were locked into your own game, but I think DJ Lagway was maybe in the first 3 drives of the game, maybe as hot as I'd seen him throwing the ball since he's been at Florida. I mean, he was throwing into tight coverage and just throwing perfect dimes. And I think he started 9 of 11, if I remember correctly. And then Napier just started running the ball every first down. Like, I think he ran the ball. In fact, I'm going to the play-by-play right now to, like, look at it and see. Okay, there's 3. There's 4. I knew this. All right. There's 5. Okay. I realized this. There's 6. I realized this like early third, mid third. Oh, okay. 6 drives in a row. He started with a run on first down. Like, he's never switching up his tendencies. It's so predictable to just predict what his play call is going to be. And if I know it while I am slamming Budweiser bottles, I damn sure hope the defensive coordinators that are watching film on it all week and are in the press box with better viewpoints than me, I sure as hell would think they would know it. He's terrible. He's horrible. Good people, good family man, works hard, but it is time for him to go, and it better be on Sunday. All right. That was my G-rated PG-8 version.
PG-8?
PG-9. 9.5.
Well, I like how I can't wait for Napier's resume for his next job to be, according to Brian Edwards, good family man, works hard. That's going to be the takeaway there from the Pro Napier camp.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. My ugly is multifaceted from Jordan-Hare Stadium on Saturday night. Look, it was a terribly officiated game, and I'm not getting into the details, but I know this: in an era of growing conspiracy theories in every walk of life, there's too much money at stake for Greg Sankey not to take this seriously. And why the TV cameras and coverage aren't allowed into the replay booth in Birmingham is malfeasance. And it just only allows that smoke. Where there's smoke, there's fire perception for folks to stoke those fires even more. And conversely, I'm not even going to talk about specific calls. I'm not even going to talk about the phantom timeouts. I'm not going to talk about the social media bitching from every side. This is the second game in a row that Auburn has responded to adversity. Did you ever play Mike Tyson Punch-Out?
Oh, yeah. Well, who was the first guy? Glass Joe?
Glass Joe. Auburn mental toughness level is Glass Joe currently, because they had 2 freaking quarters in front of a packed crowd and a place going bonkers with a 7-point lead, and they folded. So, look, I thought it was a touchdown. You may not have. You may have gone to Georgia. That's fine. We've all got video evidence that we all think proves one thing or another. That's fine. Georgia was offsides on the play, and I know Kirby called a timeout. So the one thing we can fix moving forward is Sankey can get his hands around this, because right now this is broken.
And by the way, I saw earlier today the Big Ten fined USC for playing a guy they had listed out on the injury report. So there, we finally see a precedent. Okay, there's another thing, Sank Dog. Come on, Sankey. You got to start finding people for lying on the injury report. Just to briefly revisit Auburn, Georgia there, I said when y'all were driving before the Arnold fumble at the goal line, or the hotly controversial, contested, disputed, etc. play, I said to my Auburn buddy at the bar, it was 2 seats over, what was the score at that point? 10-0 or 13-0?
It was 10-0.
10-0. Yeah. I said, if Georgia gets to halftime and y'all are only ahead 13-0, they are going to be so elated and feel so fortunate. And I was like, y'all really need a touchdown on this drive, or I don't, because I mean, it felt like y'all were beating them 38-0. It felt like the first quarter of Florida at Tennessee in '96 when we jumped on them 35-0. I mean, it felt like that, but it was only 10-0 on the scoreboard. And so when y'all fumbled, and I'm kind of pissed, really pissed about this actually. When y'all fumbled, or the play, and Georgia got the ball, wasn't there less than 2? There was like a minute and a half left, or a minute 50.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they had like 17 reviews that allowed Georgia with like 1 or 2 timeouts to go the length of the field to kick a chip shot field goal.
Right. And at that point, a lot of times my accounts will take live lines off the board in the last 2 minutes of the first half, or either half really. But I was like, oh gosh, I want to bet Georgia live right now. When I saw that play and how it went down and the booing and Freeze's reaction, I was like, okay, I'm like 80% sure Georgia's going to win this game. If I can get them plus points on the live line right now, I want it. And I didn't get it. And then the Gators, weren't we ahead of y'all by 30 minutes, I think? And then the third quarter, the Gators started, and I just completely forgot to look at the halftime line. And then I was just cussing myself the rest of the game that I didn't get a bet in. I didn't want y'all to lose. I wanted y'all to win. Anyhow, enough of that. My ugly is Tennessee's defense. This team gave up 16.1 points per game last year. I thought this was going to be one of the best defenses in the country. Now, they brought 8 starters back, but in fairness, one of them, Ricky Gibson, season ender last month, and then one of them, Jermod McCoy, who was a third-team All-American last year, he's still not back from that January ACL. So it's not – I guess he's not really
both corners are hurt, to be fair, because Colton Hood's
right.
a dude too, and he's been battling a lot of stuff.
Yeah. But still, they're 15th in the SEC in scoring defense, 108 in the country, and 124 out of 136 FBS teams in pass defense. And Arkansas had 29 first downs, 496 yards, 240 on the ground, and had almost 10 minutes advantage in time of possessions. You're not going to win SEC road games -3 in turnover margin, but I thought it was a nice effort from Arkansas and Petrino's debut. We'll see if they carry it over to A&M, which we'll talk about more here shortly.
Which I got 2 talking points that can go into ugly. Obviously, the situation, and all of these have to do with hot seat situations, which will lead us into, before we go game by game, at least kicking around a little bit on the shocker out of Happy Valley Sunday afternoon.
Woo!
But first, in the potential ugly and the coaching realm, it is rather telling in one way or the other that the Hogs had quit on Sam Pittman, because Saturday that looked like a different football team than we have seen all year. And when the offensive coordinator steps into the head coaching role, for a guy who is in control of the offense, and the offense looks that much better. I mean, I was only halfway kidding about the sandbag conversations at the end on whether Petrino wanted that or not. But that team, say what you want. Maybe they were better prepared. Maybe they were more motivated. Maybe they were more inspired by Petrino's pregame. I don't know. Maybe they brought in a whole bunch of volleyball players for everybody to look at. I don't know. But that looked like a completely different football team, even though the final in the stat column was the same. That's one. Two, do you want the definition stats of hot seat? One, you posted that Billy Napier's got to win 17 straight games to get to where Ron Zook was when he was fired. Two, our alma maters, because here's the second one. Missouri's now favored in Auburn. If the odds hold and Missouri wins, Hugh Freeze by winning percentage not only will be worse than Harsin, he will be the worst Auburn head coach winning percentage-wise since 1950, who was not an interim coach, who was not an interim fill-in at some point late down the stretch. And then three leads us to, how do those two dudes still have jobs if Florida and Auburn are going to be serious about football unless one of two things is true? They let go of James Franklin, who is fourth in the last 4 seasons in victories. There are only 4 dudes with more. And that's Kirby, Ryan Day, Kalen DeBoer, and then James Franklin over the last 4 years. And they let him go. Now, if there's another shoe to drop, which could very well be the case, who knows? I don't know if you know what I'm saying, that there are a lot of shoes in these closets, a lot of cleats. So there could be another cleat to drop. But James Franklin ain't going to be looking long with as many jobs that are popping open.
No, and it's looking pretty likely he'll be in the SEC next year. And he is a nice additional fallback option added to the equation if my home runs don't come through.
You don't think your alma mater and my alma mater are going to be looking for the same damn home runs?
Sure. Oh, now that creates another conversation. Would Kiffin, Signetti, Freeman, and or Franklin prefer Auburn over Florida or Florida over Auburn? And you know, who knows?
I don't know if Signetti's looking. And I really don't think did you watch the mini lives of Lane Kiffin on that ESPN 60?
Yeah.
As long as all his family's now relocated to Oxford, I think you and I both missed our window on that hire.
Well, him being back with Layla gives us a chance. You know, that's John Reeves' daughter, and she went to Florida the same time I did. So I think that maybe.
Well, when that was taped, they're not officially back. At least that was the end of the book of Kiffin that I took away, and they didn't even interview her.
Yeah, well, I mean, what are they going to ask about the divorce and all that? Probably, yeah. I mean, but I think they're back together. They're definitely spending time around each other a lot.
Well, this is now Bet's ball games and gossip.
Yeah. Hey, she's a Gator. And Monty was in Tampa forever, and he likes to wear a visor.
So do I.
Okay, yeah. He just said Spurs his hero growing up. Okay, anyway, moving on. All right, let's talk about some FanDuel numbers. I mentioned Simpson at plus 320. He's behind Carson Beck at plus 300. He's the chalk Beck, that is. After that, we got Mendoza, Indiana, plus 430. And then I'm gonna just mention the SEC guys. Marcel Reed 16-1. Gunnar Stockton 25-1. Trinidad Chambliss 25-1. Aguilar 40-1. Pavia 55-1. Nuss 60-1. Mateer 100-1. And by the way, I'm not against a little Brendan Sorsby 100-1 just for a little, put like a Coca-Cola on it. a little 50 cent something like that. Arch 175 2-1, Lenoris 250, Lagway 250, Prabula 250 as he's fallen way off, and Ahmad Hardy fallen way off from to 250. I think he was 30 last week. Okay, let's go to odds to win the SEC championship game. Alabama plus 175 favorite, A&M plus 480, Georgia 5-1, Texas and Ole Miss plus 750, OU 20-1, Vols and Missouri and LSU 22-1, Vandy 40-1, Florida 80, and the rest of the field is at 300-1. In terms of winning the Natty, Ohio State plus 330 chalk, Bama 7-1. Then Miami 9-1, Indiana plus 950, Georgia 10-1. Now I'm gonna skip around to SEC schools. A&M 13, Texas 16, Ole Miss 7. Oh no, I'm sorry, Ole Miss 22, Oklahoma 30, LSU 35, and the Vols and Missouri 35, Vandy 65, and that's really all that's worth mentioning. Okay, let's get to the ball games, and let's start with LSU at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt minus 2.5 at FanDuel at a minus 112 price. Vandy minus 130 money line. I would much rather do that. If you like Vandy, I would do minus 130 money line rather than minus 2.5 at a minus 112 price. The total is 48.5. I will share a few props here in a minute, but let's hear what Jay is thinking. Noon Eastern on ABC.
I think a couple things, because I've been meaning to say this for a couple of weeks, but in the college game, I want to make certain our bettors and ball game watchers are aware of this. The 2.5 is not the bargain that it used to be, because you have to remember in the overtime process, it becomes a 2-point conversion situation. Now, yes, that's an extreme, but it's not okay, all we got to do is stay within a field goal, because you could be tied and it could be a back and forth game all the way through. And if it's that competitive and that close and that evenly matched, and you get deep enough into the overtime process, it then becomes, I agree with you that the 2.5, if you can get it under minus 130, if you like Vandy, that I think is the way to go. I, however, expect that this to be a physical football game played in the teens or early 20s. If I was going to be on this one way or another, look, we've got rules here, people, and we try to follow them as best we can.
We do follow.
But if I'm on this game, I'm on under whatever you said it was at FanDuel.
48.5.
Yeah, I'm under that, because I don't think LSU is going to be able to run the football. And when you make LSU one-dimensional, look, Nuss is a dinosaur. You're not going to be able to win in modern college football at the highest levels if your quarterback can't move around, and Nuss can't. Whether that's injury, whether that's offensive line woes, it is just a matter of who he is.
And going into last week, I thought we'd get a better Nussmeier because he'd had 2 weeks to hopefully get healthy with that abdominal injury. I think he's got all kind of new injuries because he took a beating last week. Took a beating, so I don't know where he is health wise. Y'all know I always bet Diego as an underdog. I can't get there with Vandy this week, but I can get there with 2 player props at FanDuel. In fact, let me pull up. I'll share.
While you're looking for that, have you shared the stat you posted on your Twitter?
Oh, yes, my fault.
This is the first time Vandy's favored since 1948.
Yeah, Vandy and LSU don't play each other every year. I'm not sure about way back when, but once we went east-west in 92 until last year, they didn't play every year and probably only twice a decade or something to that effect. And it's still pretty telling. Vanderbilt has not been favored against LSU since 1948. That has been a minute. Okay, I've got two plays.
What do your power rankings have? Because I saw somebody post on social media, and this made me think, which is a pretty dangerous proposition. If they weren't Vandy in the eyes of the odds makers and the betting public, if this was Team A against Team B, and you took the perceptions out of it, their resumes to this point probably has Vandy closer to a 5.5 or 6 point favorite.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Probably 6. But, I have LSU 5 in my SEC power rankings and Vandy 8. I would definitely make LSU favored on a neutral. So I had initially written down LSU minus 1.5, but then I changed it to pick them. And I forget what made me do that Saturday morning. I think it was looking at the LSU box score, because I'd written down without looking at the box scores. Then I looked at the box scores, but anyway, here is my 2 plays for this game. They are player props. I like Cedric Alexander to go over 47.5 rushing yards. And this year he has rushed for 83, 73, 41, 13, 33, and 76. So he's only 3-3 on that. But one of those games was the 70-21 blowout to Georgia State, where he only had 3 carries. I think they were just trying to keep everybody healthy and using a lot of backs that game. And then the 33 was against Utah State, another blowout where he only had 8 carries. Wow, he only had 4 carries against Bama, but one of them was 65 yards for a touchdown, but 76 yards. Why did he only have 4 carries against Bama? That's it. Well, he also had 3 catches, 22 yards, and another touchdown. And I'm also going to do Diego Pavia over 48.5 rushing yards. And I am getting to his page to tell you this year he has rushed for 44, 61, 24, 86, 79, and 58. So he's 4-2 to the over on 48.5. So, yeah. So Cedric Alexander over 47.5. Diego Pavia over 48.5. And there we go. So let's move on to our next game, which is Oklahoma at South Carolina, SEC Network, 12:45 p.m. Eastern. And FanDuel currently is showing Oklahoma as I'm getting there. Here we go. Oklahoma's 5.5, minus 205 on the money line. Gamecocks plus 172 to win outright. 43.5 is the total. And Oklahoma in the first quarter is minus 1.5 at a plus 112 return in the first half. Oklahoma's 2.5 at a minus 128 price. What you think?
I don't think much about this because I'm worried about Oklahoma's mental state, but I do believe this. And one of the reasons why I don't like either side, because I can see Oklahoma. Look, we got 2 huge question marks here. Oklahoma mentally, after completely wetting the bed in the Red River and going into their first true road environment, even on an early kick, but it's still their first true SEC road game, and that place can be wickedly impossible to play. That said, I can't endorse a home team getting almost a touchdown when you're talking about potentially the SEC's worst offensive line going against potentially the SEC's, and if not, maybe even the nation's best defensive line in terms of skill set and depth. So I'm having a hard time knowing which of those 2 monster question marks is going to be the one that sways the outcome. I will be avoiding this game the way I tell all newly initiated fraternity members in Auburn, Alabama, to avoid the trip to Columbus, because the only thing that comes out of that are STDs and tattoos.
All right, Oklahoma is 5-1 straight up, 3-3 against the spread. The under 6-0 for the Sooners, and 45 combined is their highest score of the year. But as a road favorite under Venables, they're 4-7-1 against the spread. Under Beamer as a home dog, South Carolina 6-5 ATS. The under is 4-2 for South Carolina this year. I made Oklahoma a 3-point favorite. I'm taking the Gamecocks, and I'm thinking they're going to win outright. Although the early start helps Oklahoma. We don't know if Mateer's 70% healthy, 90% healthy. You know, we just don't know. But I'm not saying it's my favorite bet on the board by any means, but I'll be on South Carolina catching the points. All right. Next, we go to Texas A&M at Arkansas, and FanDuel has A&M minus 7.5, minus 300 money line. Arkansas plus 245 to win outright. 61.5 is the total, and in the first quarter, A&M is first half. A&M's minus 4.5, minus 106. In the first quarter, they're minus 1.5. What you thinking on the Ags and the Hogs?
I endorse almost any over you want to play in this game, especially as long as it toils under 63. I think Arkansas showed up and showed well on the road. I think there'll be more energy in that building after at least a positive showing, even a loss in Knoxville. And I think Texas A&M may be the most complete offense in the league. I mean, Marcel Reed, it feels like he's getting better every week. Le'Veon Moss gives them a legit dude in the backfield, and feels like every week we talk about their two portal wide receivers and their big play capabilities. So if this stays at 61, this may be among my favorite bets of the SEC calendar this Saturday, because I can easily see each team playing in the 30s.
Yes. I have no disagreement here. However, I think Texas A&M is going to get a 60-minute battle, and I think Petrino's presence, you got to remember, they loved them some Petrino before all the volleyball and motorcycles and all that. So I think they would love to see them. I mean, of course, they want to see their team have success, and they want to see them hire Petrino. So I think they're going to have their best crowd in a minute.
Well, hey, now I will say this. In some of the live chats I've done and back and forth with, the fan base is pretty divided, because Petrino's 64. Now, there are a lot of, and it's kind of a been there, done that. Is he ready to do it in an NIL era? Now, he's got some big money backers, because you're right. Those felt like the salad days since Lou Holtz in Arkansas. And look, man, I think you got to start redefining your prism on how you're going to hire a new head coach. And it's either got to be a guy who's going to galvanize the boosters to a place that you're going to be able to money whip recruits, or you need to go find a guy with a true tactical advantage and let your general manager handle the finances and trying to find the Joes. So, but no, I can see that. I can see an energized Arkansas performance. A&M making an emotional road trip, but no, I prefer the points. Brian prefers the Hogs.
No. No, no. I'm playing player props only.
Okay.
I'm just speculating that I think Arkansas was going to give them fits, but I speculated the same thing against Notre Dame, and I lost my butt. Well, actually, yeah, I think I ended up betting a little bit on them personally. I was more on the team total over, and that didn't happen. But I have been hitting, and shame on me because I've only been doing it for very, very small amounts, but I've been doing it every week. And that is Mike Washington's rushing yards prop over, and it's just posted on FanDuel. And I'm shocked. So he had a season high 19 carries last week, with Petrino being the head coach and OC for 131 yards. So it's been in the 50s every game. And I figured after getting a season high 19 carries and 131 yards, another season high, that this thing was going to be in the 60s. I can't believe it's not. It's 54 and a half. I think he's going to be getting more carries with Petrino as head coach because Petrino, I mean, I know he was already the OC, but Petrino's offense is about his power running game first, and that's setting up play action. He's always been the power running game first and foremost. So, and Washington is a stud other than that terrible fumble against Memphis. So it's 54 and a half. And look, A&M's only 8th in the SEC in run defense. So it's not like they're got the best run defense in the country. They're 8th in the SEC. Okay, Washington's rushing yards totals this year: 79, 116, 65, 70, 63, and 131. So the lowest is 63, and that is still 8.5 yards over what the number is. I can't believe it. So that is my big play. And they also have adjusted numbers. I'm going to go 80 plus rushing yards for much less. So I'm saying like a unit and a half, maybe 2 units on Washington over 54 and a half, and maybe just a half unit on him at plus 205 to go 80 plus, or plus 270 to go 90 plus. Either one of those I like. And I do Taylon Green's rushing yards prop every week too, and it is 52 and a half, and I like that over as well. And I am going to his player page to tell you how many times he's gone over 52 and a half. Okay, he has gone over that 5 games in a row. The opener, 41 rushing yards, but since then 151, 115, 53, 81, and 63. So yeah, Mike Washington and Taylon Green rushing yards prop over. And we move on to Ole Miss and Georgia. Big revenge game for UGA. It will go down at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on ABC. And FanDuel has... Okay, where are you? Where are you? Here it is. Okay, Georgia minus 7.5, money line minus 290, Ole Miss plus 235 to win outright. Over under 53 and a half, and Georgia in the first quarter is favored by 1.5 at a plus 102 return in the first half. Georgia minus 3.5, minus 118, and revenge game for the Dogs. Your thoughts?
I think, is this going to be the first real litmus test we have for the Rebels?
I mean, the LSU game, but I mean, road wise, sure.
I don't know. Georgia has continually showed us that this is not the litany of, hey, we're going to have double-digit draft picks again. A whole bunch of these guys will get drafted, but this is their first year getting on the field in a lot of cases. The revenge thing is real. The motivation is real. The most consistent thing you can say about Georgia to date is that they are terrible in the first quarter. But, I mean, they were down 21-0 in Knoxville. As you said, it felt like it was 21-0 in Auburn in the first quarter. A Georgia friend of mine said, hey, do you know what time Ole Miss kicks off? And I said, yeah, 3:30. And he goes, oh, that means Georgia's going to kick off at 4:15. So they have started so slowly that it's now become a deal, which I think they're going to focus on. I think the crowd's going to be into it revenge mode because the win last week is one of those just springboard type opportunities. I mean, this entire week is filled with a whole lot of really good lines that make you scratch your head and go,
Got a good line. I mean, I wrote down Georgia -7 Sunday morning, and it's 7.5. I just don't see an edge here.
I don't either because I think Georgia's more talented, but I think Kiffin lives for moments like this. And
so, first off, Georgia's 1-3 against the spread at home this year, and they're
some of that's the Kirby doing the Saban. I mean, they never trounce those 40-plus point underdogs.
So now, as a home favorite during Kirby's tenure, and I will, as he's noting, and I will certainly concede that a lot of these instances of him as a home favorite were, 30-plus favorite spots. But as a home favorite under Kirby, Georgia is an abysmal 20-35-1 against the spread. Do with that what you wish. This game's a hard pass. I wouldn't mind Georgia getting out to a decent lead early and getting Ole Miss like catching 14 on a live line. That could potentially attract me. We shall see. You're a hard pass as well?
The only thing I think there's going to be heavy focus on Georgia starting quickly. What did you say the first quarter line was?
1.5, I think.
If I felt like I was going to sit down and watch this one exclusively in the 3:30 window and I wanted to have action on it, I would buck the trend here just because I think Kirby offensively and defensively is harping on starting fast so they don't have to finish with so many emotional big play games in these big SEC spots. So I would probably taste Georgia -1.5 in the first quarter, but especially the way Ole Miss started against Washington State, that was dreadful.
That was gross. Yeah, that was gross. Okay, hard pass for me. Let's go to Mississippi State at Florida, and FanDuel has the Gators as 9.5-point favorites. Mississippi State is plus 260 on the money line. The total, is 51.5. UF in the first quarter is -1.5 at a -108 price. In the first half, the Gators are 4.5. Florida as a home favorite under Napier, 4-9 against the spread. When these teams met last year, Florida won 45-28. Shapen got a season-ending injury, I want to say in like the second or third quarter. Mississippi State 4-2 straight up, 5-1 ATS this year as a road dog under Lebby, 4-2 against the spread. A trivia question for you here, Jay. The last time Mississippi State beat Florida, what was the head coaching matchup? Do you need any hints?
Let's go Jackie Sherrill and Galen Hall.
Dan Mullen versus Oscar Mayer Wiener, OSCAR, 2010. Last year for Oscar in Gainesville.
Oh, that was the year that Mississippi State got to 1 in the BCS, right?
No, that was 14. Dak.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Dak would be a 15-year veteran in the NFL if
he plays like it.
Okay. Mississippi State.
Yeah. Oh, I'm completely with you. As far as a side, there are a couple of totals I like. And this is already dipped. I saw it earlier this week as high as 10.
Yeah, it had dipped to 8.5. I felt like I was seeing mostly 8.5s and 9 last night, and then it kind of came back to 9.5. So maybe hold out and see if you get a 10. Or I would definitely recommend buying the half point to 10 because they only make you pay minus 120 juice on 9.5 to 10, or they should, or they usually do. Yeah, this is Mississippi State, and I want to wake up Sunday morning and the nightmare be over.
Have you ever wanted a Florida loss more?
Well, oh, by the way, Sly Kroom handed Ron Zook his pink slip, and I wanted that one. I wanted that one bad, man. And the running back that was so good that day for Mississippi State got drafted by the Falcons and played. Jarius Norwood. Jarius Norwood had a monster day that day for Sly Kroom, and I can't wait to wake up Sunday morning and not have a head coach. 4:15 p.m. Eastern at the Swamp, SEC Network. All right, we move on to Texas at Kentucky. And this is Kroger Field, 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. And our friends at FanDuel have the number at 12.5 toward the Longhorns, obviously, minus 550 money line. Kentucky plus 400 to win outright. 42.5 is your total in the first quarter. Texas is minus 2.5, but at a minus 135 price. First half, minus 6.5 at a minus 128 price. Jay, your thoughts?
I'll be real curious. I think there'll be 3 home games this weekend with a whole lot of eyes from pundits on the crowd and the energy level. What's it like in the Swamp? What's it like in Lexington? And what's it like in Jordan-Hare, with a whole lot of swirling questions and a growing list of potential job openings across the Power 4 conferences. This could be the moment that Kentucky turns in their Arkansas Notre Dame performance at home. And look, Texas is coming in breathing fire after their far and away their best showing of the season last week in Red River. Thankfully nobody's rallying the charge of Texas is back, but the offensive line played very well against a talented Oklahoma front. Arch played with confidence. They've got 2 of the top 5 running backs, I think 2 of the top 10 running backs in Kiper's position group nationally. The only play I can offer here is Texas and lay the number, because I think this one could get out of hand, and I don't think Kentucky can keep up with them in terms of scoring. Something you do real well, live bets and looking at money line parlays or teaser opportunities. If you don't want to lay the full 12.5 on the road in an SEC night game, I just don't see Texas seeing a whole lot of resistance here.
As a road favorite under Sark, 7-8 against the spread. As a home dog under Stoops, Texas is 13-16 ATS, but 1-0 this year with the cover. Sorry to bring up a bad memory there. Last year, 31-14 Texas, but Kentucky covered plus 18 because I was on them and I was watching. Cutter Boley actually played most of that game. 10 of 18, 160, no tutties, and 1 pick. Wisner had 26 carries, 158 yards, and 1 touchdown. The under 4-2 for Texas, but this matches their lowest total of the year, which was 42.5 against Florida, which went over. The over's hitting 3 straight for Kentucky, but this is their lowest total. With all that said, hard pass for this guy, and we move on to Tennessee at Bama, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on ABC. Alabama favored by 8.5 at a -105 price. Vols plus 245 money line to win outright. The total is 58.5. The Tide in the first quarter -2.5, -118. In the first half, Bama -5.5. And there you go. Your thoughts?
I would probably start with the total here. I think both of the offenses can have pathways to find success. I know you're on one side way more vehemently than I am, but I just monster win for Alabama last week, and I can't really see going against Ty Simpson at this point. But I also am a big believer in Josh Heupel. If I have to play this, I'll go over, but I'm staying away from the side because. And hey, now if you're a Tennessee player, you want to wait on this bet, and if you're an Alabama player, you may want to pull the trigger now because I think this will go up.
Yeah, you should have already pulled the trigger. I made Alabama 11. I mentioned earlier UT's defense. What a disappointment it has been. And like you noted, Simpson gets better every week. And the Tide have ripped off 5 straight wins, 4-0-1 ATS in that stretch. I think Alabama wins by 2 touchdowns. And I am on the Tide. I also like them in a teaser or money line parlay with a couple of other home favorites in Clemson and Notre Dame this week. Clemson at home to SMU. Clemson seems to have gotten it going a little bit, and Notre Dame at home to USC, which I think will get exposed as a fraud. Our last game is Mizzou at Auburn. 7:45 p.m. Eastern, SEC network, and our friends at FanDuel have Missouri favored by 1.5 at a -112 price, and the total is 43.5. And since it's a low spread, you can guess the first half and first quarter. Missouri favored by a half or 1 or something to that effect. What are we thinking here, Jay? What are we bowing up with a little bit of pride for Auburn? I tell you what, I would really like Missouri if it was a noon kick, but the Auburn fan base is going to be nice and lathered and really pissed off wanting a dub.
The only way I'd play Auburn here is first quarter and or first half because I think they will come out the crowd. They'll feed off the crowd. But look, Auburn has made 0 adjustments in meaningful games. I think in their 3 SEC losses, they have 1 second half touchdown. So they've been the antithesis of Georgia, as in starting fast and then failing to either adjust or continue the momentum, or folks find a hole in what they're trying to do and penetrate that. And Missouri's front 7 played pretty damn well against Alabama. It wasn't like they laid down. Ty Simpson took it from them. So Auburn's offensive line is going to be tested again. Man, oh man, you want to hear an unbelievable stat?
Mm-hmm.
Jackson Arnold is simultaneously last in the SEC in passing efficiency and the only SEC starting quarterback without an interception.
Wow.
Which tells you the only way they're getting the ball to anybody in the perimeter is within a phone booth of each other. Because the 2 most important gauges on passing efficiency are yards per completion and interception rate. And he's the best in the league at interception rate.
Wow. I mean, he should have at least 1 or 2 interceptions from trying to force feed Cam Coleman. And if he tries to force feed Cam Coleman, he may have 1 or 2 interceptions, but he's going to have 4 or 5 touchdowns as well. I mentioned Brett Norfleet's touchdown prop last week because they like to go to him in the red zone so much. It was plus 260, and it cashed. I think it cashed on Missouri's first drive, if I'm not mistaken. It's plus 240 this week. I'm not
Yeah,
against.
Norfleet did score the first touchdown of the game. Yes.
Yeah, it's plus 240 anytime touchdown this week. They have their passing props up for this game, but not rushing. I wanted to see what Ahmad Hardy was, but it's not up yet. Now, I'm not against him minus 135 to have a rushing touchdown, unless there's something on the injury report about him, because he got a little dinged and missed a little bit of time last week. But if there's something about him on the report, maybe switch it to Jamal Roberts plus 185, because he doesn't have to apologize to anybody
Now,
about
both
much.
of these quarterbacks like to run, but I would not trust rushing props for either quarterback because I think there'll be more than a few sacks in this game.
All right. Let's talk about our friends at Yearly Company, a Nashville-based fine jewelry brand built on tradition and designed for meaning. Each piece is handcrafted from solid 14K gold and natural gemstones, made to measure for a perfect fit and backed by a lifetime guarantee, because every Yearly Company bangle is custom sized. Knowing your size is the most important first step before ordering. That's where our sizing kit comes in. It's the perfect place to start, especially for husbands who want to have sizes ready now, so shopping closer to the holidays is effortless. Code SE16KIT will take 100% off the sizing kit at checkout. All right, we also want to talk about our friends at ROKFORM, the world's strongest magnetic phone case, extreme protection, super strong magnets. Rock Lock Secure Mounting. September is busiest month of the year with a new iPhone release. SEC25 for 25% off. And finally, HOVI Dry Goods, your new favorite hat. Look no further than HOVI hats for high quality headwear with a great fit and unique designs. Bad beat for 15% off. All right. We got about 3 minutes left. Other picks.
I'm going to recalibrate. My picking window, especially with being with the kids at the beach, I've lost a little confidence right now.
You're going to have to do your handicapping, more handicapping to come later in the week. All right. I have a couple. Stanford plus 18. I'm not looking at it right now. I assume that's still the line. At home to FSU. FSU seems to be unraveling again. Deuce Robinson, Randy Pittman, and Squirrel White, three of Castellanos' favorite targets, especially Robinson, 25 catches, 443 yards, and 3 touchdowns. All three are very, very questionable. White and Pittman missed last week's loss to Pitt. Robinson left in the second quarter and did not return. Norvell's back on a boiling hot seat. All the goodwill built up from the Alabama win, bye-bye. It's gone. And also Jackson Dart, over 40. I've seen it here for 42.5 to 44.5 rushing yards. Over. He's been in the 50s every game. And I saw his anytime touchdown prop at plus 390 at a book. FanDuel didn't have it up yet, or at least as of early this morning, they didn't. Anything plus 300 or better for Dart to score a touchdown, give me that, because he scored in 2 of 3 games. And I mentioned the teaser, Notre Dame, Clemson, and Bama. Teaser or money line parlay. Teaser, if you can get it to -3 or fewer, and a push is not a loss on a teaser, which it shouldn't be. But anyhow, I think that's all I got. Parting words?
It was fun to watch the Falcons Monday night.
It was. Other than the Bills live bets that I made, and you complimented my live betting, and it normally is good. But Monday night, not so good. Commanders pick 'em, and Bills -3.5, or I'm sorry, Bills plus 3.5, plus 6. There we go. All right, folks. Good luck with your bets, Jay, and the rest of your vacation. I hope we all win some money, and we're presented by FanDuel. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you next week.